Hey, welcome back to Dawson's Film Corner. I think we've been over that. I'm Dawson, and today we're talking about 12 Angry Men. I have the Criterion edition here, which, if you know, the Criterion version is the older copy, but it's just the version I have. I've heard the K&L version is better. I wouldn't know. I haven't seen that version yet. I plan on getting a 4K player and a new TV with Dolby Vision on it. So I don't know if there's a 4K release. I think there is. I'd have to look. I really don't know. But that's what the inside looks like. It's pretty simple. It comes with a booklet like most Criterions do. This one looks like it just gives you a breakdown of the characters, which we'll kind of go into that during the video today anyway. But I really like this movie. This is in my top 4 on Letterboxd. Follow that if you haven't yet. I would appreciate it. I just think it's fun. But this is in my top 4, and so that means it's obviously in my top 10 movies of all time. I mean, the acting and cinematography in this movie is great. Henry Fonda does such a great job in this movie. I think all of the actors do a really good job. I don't think any of them are bad by any means. And the way the movie's set up is pretty interesting anyway, because it mostly takes place in that single room. If you haven't seen the movie before, it's basically a courtroom drama that takes place while the jury's trying to make their decision whether the convicted is guilty or not guilty. I don't really want to spoil anything because this is one of those you need to watch. It's one of the best movies ever made. I think it's on Amazon Prime every once in a while streaming, or that's the only thing I've seen. It may be on other stuff, I don't know. But I know you can rent it. You can probably rent it on YouTube or something like that. But it's definitely worth the watch. Even if you don't think you're into older movies like that, this will change your mind on that. That's the basic story premise. It's a courtroom drama. Takes place around the 12 members of the jury trying to decide whether the convicted's guilty or not guilty. Fun little fact about this movie is how much it keeps up with real time going by. Because they're in, what's the room called that Jerry goes into?
As far as I know,
I find different words. A fun little fact about the movie that has to do with real time it takes to watch the movie is the real time that's happening in the movie. So the whole time you're watching the movie is actually how long it's taking them to decide the verdict. And I think it shows a clock every once in a while, or you see a clock every once in a while in the movie. And it's just an interesting little detail. Even just from the opening scene though, it kind of sets you up for how each character is different. How they react when they're walking out of the courtroom, how they look at the defendant. It just kind of gives you an idea of the kind of character they are. I guess you can call it the main character of the movie, which is Juror 8, which is Henry Fonda's character. He's the first one that thinks that the defendant's not guilty, mostly just because he doesn't want to make a swift, rash decision that's going to send the defendant to the electric chair. And then eventually grows in actually having a reasonable doubt about the evidence. Every character in this movie's got a different background. None of them are one and the same. They've all got different biases. Some biases are personal, some biases are race related. One scene I will definitely highlight is what I like to call the knife drop, because you know how there's a mic drop now. But I like to call this scene the knife drop. It's one of the earliest scenes and one of the first pieces of evidence that kind of gets disproven by Henry Fonda's character. And it's such a good scene. If you want to, I know it's on TikTok. I know MGM's official account posted that scene, and you can just watch it, and it's just such a good scene. Well, yeah, because this is kind of my setup, is just kind of doing candid thoughts. So I'll kind of go through the characters as I remember them and as I got the notes wrote here. Juror 1 is referred to as foreman throughout the movie. He just tries to keep everybody organized and the whole process organized. That way it doesn't go into complete chaos, which it almost does a few times in the movie. I'm just doing them. I'm not doing every juror, just the ones I have for the more bigger part in the movie. So like juror number 2, I don't really have much for him. He's just kind of there. In my opinion, someone may have more in-depth look on him, but I don't really notice anything super stand out about him. And that might be what his whole thing is. There's nothing really stand out about him. Juror number 3 has a very bad personal bias because the defendant's a young man and he has issues with his son, and the defendant and his son are about the same age, and his whole thing just ends up being a personal vendetta. Juror number 4 is another one of the main ones. He is very logical about his thinking, and he makes some great points throughout the movie. He eventually gets moved over to having his reasonable doubt and later on in the movie near the end. And I'm skipping number 5. Juror number 6, he's just a blue collar man. Like I said, he's just kind of another stand-in for the audience. As a normal guy who's been given this responsibility to, I think I have to word it. He's given this responsibility to either charge this man guilty or not guilty. Juror number 7, he is basically the main thing about him, he's worried about a baseball game about the whole time. He's not really worried about the trial, he just wants to get out of there and go to the baseball game. Juror number 8, Henry Fonda's character, the main character pretty much. The one that leads, or I guess not really leads, but that starts the change of people having reasonable doubt based off the evidence. Juror number 9, he's the old man. He's the first one that gives Henry Fonda's character a chance to try and disprove the evidence. And juror number 10, he's basically just a racist. I mean, that's his main thing, his main shtick. And then skipping juror number 11, he's well, I'm not gonna skip him. The best way I can think to describe him, he's an immigrant, I believe, and he's glad to be a part of the system, and he pays very close attention to everything, every piece of evidence and everything, and he helps with some of the disproving or having a reasonable doubt about some of the evidence. Juror number 12, he agrees with the masses. I mean, he's definitely a follower and not a leader. His opinion has only changed when a majority of the people voted not guilty, or he gets persuaded into going back to guilty one time, and then he goes back to non-guilty. He's a businessman. He's mostly worried about business in general. He's not super worried about the trial. But he doesn't really think for himself when it comes to the trial. And that's pretty much all the jurors. Let me double check here. I'm sorry, juror number 5. He is able to relate to the defendant because they grew up in very similar situations. And so in some of the evidence disproving, he's able to give his own view from it because he shares a lot of those experiences with the convicted. And that's pretty much all. I think that's all the jurors, all the different jurors, and their kind of different roles in the movie. And throughout the movie, as they're slowly giving doubts for the evidence that was shown, not really meticulous, but they go out of their way to do everything they can with the evidence that they have to try to find out if it can be believed or if it can be doubted. And multiple details come up from the case, and eventually they decide, after a long, I think this movie is 2 hours? Let me check here. This movie is an hour and a half, and it takes an hour and a half in real time in the movie for them to come to a decision after going through all the evidence and everything. Yeah, this is a great movie. I guess I should have looked before I made this video, but if there is a 4K version, I'll probably definitely upgrade to it. I might keep my Criterion version. I might not. I'm not 100% sure yet if I will or not. But if you haven't seen it all, watch the movie. It is so good and very much worth the watch. And if you have just a DVD of it or a Blu-ray of it, definitely get the 4K because I'm sure it's such a upgrade in quality and everything. But that's all I got for today. Y'all have a good one.